The Honorable President of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Sardar Masood Khan Sahab, the Honorable Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Zubair Mahmood Hayat Sahab, Honorable General Amjad Shoaib Sahab, Honorable General Khalid Jafi Sahab, Honorable Amir Bilal Sufi Sahab. I, as a member of the National Assembly of Pakistan, do not have the perhaps so much of a overall complexion the way that the two of my former very astute speakers have made in their own professional and I thought extraordinarily well presented briefs. I, as a elected person of a constituency from South Punjab, have always looked at the Pakistan political scenario in a way and a form where I thought that what Sardar Masood said, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's life I have examined and looked at, evaluated from different perspectives. And I feel that I'll start my presentation. I don't have written text like my perhaps other gentlemen, because in Parliament we are supposed to look at our notes and not speak from a text. So I'll make the same kind of an address here today. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was an astute, one of the leading barristers of British India of his times, a gentleman whom one of his biographers has said that few people in the world have changed the map of the world, even fewer have changed the course of history, and perhaps very, very few have created a nation state. The Honorable Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah did all three. The state of Pakistan as it came into being, 14th August 1947, was indeed a miracle if you look at how the freedom struggle went from the 1920s to 1947. Because he had to put together a thesis, construct it against the powerful British, who were the rulers, and not only were the rulers, they were the great power of that day. After all, after the defeat of Napoleon in Waterloo in 1815 till 1914, for 100 years the British were looked upon as Pax Britannica, the peace of Britain. As perhaps post-1945 we've seen Pax of Americana. The Soviet Union was a great challenge, and now 7, 8 other countries are challenging it. So in that context of British India, it was a great achievement of the Quaid, and Congress was a very well-organized party set up by a Britisher in the 1880s, a man by the name of Hume. The All India Muslim League came into being through His Excellency, the Aga Khan, way back in 1906. The way that our country got constructed, we were handicapped from day number one. And the reason for our handicap and disadvantage was the partition plan under Cyril Ratcliffe, who was a jurist, who came to India just 4 weeks before the partition. And partition, which was supposed to be in June 48, was accelerated for barely 4 months. In March, they decided that partition would take place on the 14th of August, 1947. And in that quick time, because the principle, what was the principle of the two dominions which were to devolve from British India? Muslim majority areas would become Pakistan and Muslim majority Hindu areas would become India. And then came negotiations for Bengal and Punjab, because Bengal was a Muslim majority area, as was Punjab. But the Congress would not have it. And the Congress was always very devious in the manner that they negotiated, always in their own style, in their own way. And there were a series of leaders, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and several others. On our side, basically, it was Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And in that very intricate negotiation, they succeeded to convince Whitehall and Westminster together that unless you divided the Bengal and Punjab, they would not accept Pakistan. So we made the concession, the All India Muslim League at that time, the successors which we are now Pakistan. And in that division, something really extraordinary happened, which was that the contiguous district of Gurdaspur, which was majority Muslim area, and the contiguous district of Firozpur, which was also contiguous to what is today Pakistan, was handed over to India in that Ratcliffe Award, which was not announced either on Independence Day of the 14th of August, nor was it announced on the 15th of August when Delhi became independent Dominion state. It came out on the 18th of August. So this is which handicapped, disadvantaged Pakistan, because Gurdaspur gave the contiguity to India. If there had been no Gurdaspur Award, it should have naturally accrued to Pakistan, we would not have had the Kashmir problem as we do today. This is the start of injustice done right at the start by the then outgoing power, Lord Louis Mountbatten. Several books have been written. I believe one has been written in the last 3-4 weeks, just published in London. Perhaps they have given out this story as yet or not. And that from that day on, Pakistan has lived with Kashmir, and we always have said two things. The Qaid and my two previous speakers have pointed that out, which was that Kashmir is the jugular vein of Pakistan. It still is, and inshallah will always remain. Second, that the partition plan will not be complete unless and until the Kashmir issue is resolved, which has not been till today. Sardar Sahab very eloquently pointed out those dates where he said how the present AJK was physically taken over by the locals, and they defeated the Indian Army, and the GB connection also, and now there we have certain documents which actually allude to what he has just said. But then came that treacherous time, and this is where again I think a man like Mountbatten, which my two other speakers didn't, I think we have to point that out. The injustice and the manner that the British left British India and left us with this very difficult time which we are facing today. And that was basically that they wanted to, the water problem came up when we lost Firozpur district. Water has been a major, and it will become a bigger problem in the future. Yes, we've had the Indus Water Treaty, but there are no guarantors on the Indus Water Treaty. And with a man like Moody and his mindset, I'm not sure which dimension these things will ultimately lead. But one important happening in the 47 partition award, partition plan, whichever word you would like to say, was that from day one, we were handicapped, as they said that to start with our capital, they didn't even have offices to sit in. The Sindh Assembly was taken over and became the constituent and concurrently the National Assembly of Pakistan, where the constitution slowly got evolved. But what happened in 47 was that our first budget, East and West Pakistan, was only 69 crore. Our budget today is over 4 trillion. And that 69 crore, we didn't have enough revenues. And there were 2 or 3 major individuals who actually supported Pakistan in fulfilling that. Nehru and his cohorts at that time And his cohorts are the one the BJP is proclaiming they were the freedom fighters, and Nehru and Gandhi are being sidelined because supposedly they were the liberals going with the secular democratic India as opposed to the Hindutva philosophy even today. So there is a re-evaluation of history of India, and perhaps the future books of the Indian historic, what they will be reading, the younger people, they may rewrite what were the normal textbooks, and when others are being built up as the new heroes for India, they will also start distorting the history in accordance with what they wanted over 1,000 years ago. Because I think in their psyche somehow they feel that for 1,000 years they were ruled from outside of India. And about 500 to 600 years the Muslims ruled India, and they can't get it out of their psyche. This is how a man like Moody has arisen, with his ethos, with his ethic, with his philosophy of totally marginalizing the minorities in India. Of the largest is the Muslim, but the Dalits are also his target. The Christians are his target. Eventually, one will find that even Parsis will be his target. And all the minorities in India he will zero in on, because that is his mindset. It's narrow-minded. Fascism is the modern word of the last century. Neo-fascism. And how did fascism rise in India, in Europe? Because of the narrow-mindedness of the victorious after World War I. You had the Treaty of Versailles, and in that Treaty of Versailles, they got certain things written in which were primarily to get reparations from those who were defeated, which was the Germans. And on account of those reparations, the fascism came up. Extraordinary nationalistic, jingoistic, chauvinistic. That's what the mindset of Mr. Modi is today. Extraordinary. And you saw how fascism, if you see films of those days of World War II, you'll see how they were inspiring people, the Germans. I've seen some of those films. When he would speak in a stadium, 100,000 people, you would think they are all army people, the way they would root him and so on. Moody wants to build that kind of a symbolic kind of a picture where he gets up and people will follow him. Well, let's see. But how does the world see him? As quite rightly said, they have been slowly taking over the territory. SARC was set up in the 1980s, and Pakistan was one of the forefront to set up SARC. All other regional systems have worked, most of all ASEAN. But since Modi stepped in, SARC has been totally put off the table. Why? Modi wants to be the regional hegemon. He wants to be a dominant figure in South Asia, and the only people who have resisted him are Pakistan. When he as Prime Minister walked into Dhaka, he said, we are the people who finished the state of Pakistan. The state of Qaeda-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He took pride in it. And now, I quite agree. Ultimately, his objective is to take on Pakistan. And as the Honorable Chairman, Chief of the Joint Staff has just stated, he is mistaken. Because on a smaller scale, you saw on the 27th, 28th of February this year, how the determination, the grit of Pakistan reacted. When for the first time they crossed the boundary, the international frontier was crossed in 1970, after 1971, the first time. He thought he could do it with impunity. Under 2 acts in Kashmir, the way he has tortured, tyrannically, gone after helpless citizens, normal citizens. 900,000 troops are required to overcome 8 million Kashmiris. Is he a normal human being? He wants to put them into that kind of a situation. The word used, concentration camps. Yes, this is the ethos, this is the ethic of Modi and his men. Doval doctrine, Amit Shah, who are they? They only believe in cornering people, helpless people as normal citizens. They don't want to fight normally. They're afraid. The Kashmiris have become fearless. Burhan Wani's martyrdom brought about a total new enthusiasm in that country, in Kashmir. I won't even use the word annex. The word I like is intrusion and occupation of Indian occupied Kashmir, because in my lexicon, the way I understand the law, here are the lawyers, they'll explain it better. Kashmir is still disputed territory, no matter how many divisions the man puts in there. No matter what he does, it is disputed under international law. Some of us at times have gone here and there. No. Our only point is, it's disputed territory as accepted by all those who are powerful, the five: China, Russia, United States, France, and Britain. And it was proved after 54 years when Kashmir, the Simla Agreement came in, the Lahore Accord came in, the Islamabad Accord, and these are the three accords we did bilaterally. But in my lexicon, in my understanding, we go back to those original 48, 49 resolutions when we said two things. Kashmir is a disputed area, and it has been proved on the 16th of August when the United Nations Security Council met in New York. That substantiated Pakistan's day one point of view. Second, that the Kashmiris are there to, what was the second point promised was plebiscite. And what is plebiscite? Plebiscite is different to referendum and election. They will make up their own minds in deciding their own future. So the Kashmiris have that basic right, that fundamental right. Nobody can take it from them. No Modi, no Amit Shah, no Doval, not the Indian Army. The time has come, I think, for Pakistan. Pakistan has played its role, I think, much above expectations since the 5th of August. Our Prime Minister, he had a good visit to the United States. Our Foreign Minister has been in touch with his own people, yes. China played the key role. We've had excellent relations with China. We give it all the kind of recognition that we should give, and we should be grateful for what they have done. Russia for the first time became neutral and did not oppose. And then the three Western powers, US, France, and Britain, came along. Our Prime Minister has been speaking to Boris Johnson. He's spoken to President Macron. He's been twice on telephone with President Trump. These are very important conversations. And I think we Pakistanis must realize that despite it all, yes, we have one of the best motivated, battle-hardened armed forces in the world today. And they are, unfortunately, don't have the kind of equipment that I'd like them to have amongst the latest. For obvious reasons, because Pakistan economically perhaps, and this is where we have to really put in our efforts for the future. As a nation state, we have to compete with the rest. We should not look upon our successes. We need to make things more. Governance-wise, we have to make things much better. And here, I think our new leadership, hopefully, will follow that dimension of those who have been successful in the world, which is that when you work for public interest and not public gain, private gain, that is why countries like Japan over 100 years ago, like China in the last 40 years, and we have seen so many other countries which have gone and are competing now with North America and Europe because their leadership constantly wanted their people to progress, to advance, to economically benefit what are known as normally welfare states. The Qaid, if you read his speeches, he made over 100 speeches as Governor General of Pakistan. Economy. When he made his first speech at the State Bank inauguration in Karachi, if you see that, he laid the basis of what a future nation state should be. Unfortunately for us, we have not always followed that track. Somehow we have somehow gone a little bit haphazardly. The time has come. And one thing is extremely important. We've had 2 joint sessions of Parliament. Both times, when we were threatened by Pulwama, there was a joint resolution of the representatives of Pakistan, the upper house and the lower house, and unanimously the resolution passed. The second resolution again came post 5th of August again, and when elected representatives of the people of Pakistan. Those, after all, if we go back to the 1947 Assembly, if we go back to the speech of 11th of August, what did the Qaid say? If we read those speeches, if we look at the way, what he said and where we are today, I wish we had followed what he had said. We have in part followed him, but not in toto. And that is the gap Pakistan needs to bridge. How to perform and perform in a transparent way and perform in a manner, in a way, in a method where Pakistanis start feeling a sense of dignity, of pride, and of honor that we are Pakistanis. We can compete with all nationalities of the world. The time is there. Today is the time for this challenge. Today is the time for our leadership to convince those permanent 5 members. China is totally on board. The other 4 have to be partly convinced. And I think this is the time. Our Prime Minister will be speaking in the United Nations General Assembly on the 27th. Our Foreign Minister is going to the United Nations Human Rights Council within a week. We've had, as we have been told, I don't want to go into the details because all the details have been specified from me earlier, all the atrocities the Indians have committed, the torture, the militarized areas, everything. Now we have to move fast. And I think so far our diplomacy has been, in my opinion, reasonably successful. But we need to tread carefully, craft our diplomatic, strategic places in a manner where we can convince the people we are going, because we have a just cause. We don't have to be apologetic. Ours is a cause which is totally just, as was the creation of Pakistan. But to maintain that nation state of Pakistan, we Pakistanis, as I said, have to act with dignity, honor, and justice. Thank you very much.